Hey, Matt Lewis again, trainer at the Life Fit Center on Riverside Drive. Today I'm here to run you through a few exercises for your legs and grab some dumbbells and we'll get to it. Warm up, we'll start with some high knees. You can gradually get your knees higher and higher. However, you want to keep them under your waist. And opposite arm, opposite leg, so get your hands involved. Swing at the elbows. Then we're going to transition to butt kickers. So we're going to take a step and try and kick our butt with our heel. At the same time, we can get a nice upper body stretch, pulling the elbows back. This is working the hamstrings. High knees were mainly for the hip flexors. And now we're going to stretch the back of the legs, especially the calves. So we're going to hinge at the hips. We're going to keep a flat back. We're going to pull the hips back and we're going to point the toe upward. Try not to step too far in front of you. You just want to kind of dig your heel into the ground. And then as you hinge back up, you want to squeeze the glutes. So hinging at the hips, squeezing the glutes. Good, we're gonna transition to footballers. So we wanna get nice and low here and we wanna be working the quads. We wanna have our hands up and we're pumping our legs back and forth here, getting some blood flow to the thigh area. Great, now we'll increase the range of motion a little bit more for the high knees. Remember, still keeping it below waist. Opposite arm, opposite leg. Transitioning to your butt kickers. Hand over hand, pulling the elbows back. Another beautiful day out. Good, now we're gonna hinge at the hips for a floor sweep. So if you see my side image, I'm keeping my back flat. My chin is tucked, my chest is high. And I'm just taking a step forward with my heel, pointing the toe upward to the sky, sweeping the ground with my hands. And getting a nice back of the leg stretch here. Good, now we're gonna go into our footballers. Nice and low here, testing out those legs. And the gold standard, we're gonna run through this a third time. Back to the high knees. So increasing my range of motion just a little bit, speeding it up just a little bit. You want to go about 6 out of 10 exertion for your warm-up. Nothing too crazy. Nothing too high intense. And back to the butt kickers. Warming up those hamstrings, the back of the legs. Hinging at the hips for a floor sweep, digging the heel in, pointing the toes up, sweeping the ground, keeping everything straight in your back, neutral spine. Pushing out with the abdominals slightly, working your lower back too. Good, we're going into footballers. Hands up, pumping the legs, feeling it in those thighs, those quads. Good, now you can grab your dumbbells and we'll continue with our workout. All right, so we're gonna start off with the calves. So what we wanna do is we wanna have a nice stand up plank position, and we're gonna be gripping the dumbbells. Now you don't wanna bend your elbows, you just wanna keep everything engaged. So elongating your arms and raising up your heels. And we're going for a standard 8 once again. 2, 3, 4. Just lifting your heels here on your tippy toes. Perfect. Now we're just gonna let one dumbbell drop and we're gonna do something called a good morning. You're gonna hold the dumbbell where your front 2 abdominals are. You're gonna keep your feet hip width apart. You're gonna hinge at your hips and you're gonna come right back up. So you don't have to fold all too much. You're just bringing your hips back, chest is high, chin is tucked, and standing back to starting position. Hinging at the hips, standing up, starting position, squeezing the glutes. So this is working the hamstrings and the lower back. It's also keep your core engaged because you have the abdominals right at your core area, your midsection. And good. All right, so now we're going to transition to a goblet squat. With the goblet squat, you don't want to have the dumbbell rested on your chest. You want to have it out in front of your chin. You want to have your feet shoulder width apart, weights on the heels, and you're trying to get some depth in your squat. So you're going all the way down, maybe 90 degrees, coming right back up, and like you're sitting in a chair. So it's a little different than the hinge. With this one, you're upright, so your head is up and you're looking straight ahead. The other one, you have your eyes, nose parallel to the ground, so you're looking on the ground when you're doing any type of hinge movement. So this one, you're just a little bit more upright, core is engaged. Perfect. Now we're going to transition to the deadlift. So we're going back to a hinge movement. With the deadlift, you want to go to about past knee height, so about mid shin, and you have your eyes, nose parallel to the ground, and you have your glutes way far back, and you're going up all one motion. You're not pulling the weights, it's all in your hips here. So all the way down, all the way up. Try and work with your range of motion. So what works for you? This is mimicking something that you're picking up off the ground, and you're keeping your back totally flat. So you need to engage underneath your armpits, your lats. So everything tucked in, and that is the deadlift. All right, so now we're gonna offset our deadlift. We're just gonna take a step forward with our left foot, and then our right toe is behind that left foot. So you're offsetting your feet. You're still keeping hip width apart, and you're going down into your deadlift, coming right back up. So left foot is in front and your right foot is behind your left heel. So again, we're gonna go for 8, 3, 4. Notice how I'm keeping my arms fully straightened, fully elongated. All right, we're gonna switch sides. So our right foot's gonna be forward, our left toe is gonna be behind our right heel, and we're hinging. And 1, 2, 3. So this is getting your glute medius. 4, so the side of your glute. 5, the deadlift's getting your glute max. Good, and it's working your hamstrings and your lower back, so a little bit of everything. Okay, so we did our calves, we did our thighs for the squat, and then we did our hamstrings for the deadlift and the good morning. We also did hamstrings again for the offset deadlift, and all lower back involved as well. So now we want to get our quads once again. So we're gonna go into alternating lunge. Now with the alternating lunge, it's better if you take a step back because it's better for your knees. So I'm gonna plant my left foot and I'm gonna take a step back with my right. And I wanna take a far enough step back that my knee is behind my hip. So if you look at my side image, when I take a step back, that knee here, my knee should be behind my hip. Okay, so we're gonna take that step back. We're gonna be upright as much as possible. Taking a step back, knee is behind the hip. So we did 1 and 1, that's 2 and 2. If I were behind you, I'd like to see the tread of your shoe. 3 and 3, so I'll give you that angle. So you should see the tread of my shoe if the grass is not covering it. Good, so we're halfway. We're gonna do another 4 per side, okay? So you saw all angles. Now we got 1 and 1, 2 and 2. So your knee should almost touch the ground, just a couple inches above. 3 and 3, 4 and 4. Good, so those are your 5 exercises. I recommend doing those. That was 1 set. I recommend doing it 2 to 3 times. 1 day a week is fine. You want to hit every muscle group at least once a week. Notice how I'm out of breath. If I did that 2 to 3 times, I'd be golden. So right now I'm still good to go. I can do another few sets, couple sets after, but doing it once for beginners, yeah, that's fine, that's perfect. As long as you're getting up off the seat and doing something, right? We're gonna be on 1 knee, just like the lunge, and we're gonna stretch our hip flexor. Now, a lot of the time we tend to overextend here. We don't necessarily need to do that. That can also kind of strain the hip flexor a little bit. I like to keep my hands on my temples. I like to tuck the tailbone in, and then I like to just lean forward a bit, and you'll feel a little bit of tightness if your hips are tight. So you'll feel a little bit of a pull. So I'm forward, folding a bit, stretching the hip. Deep breaths. Good, and we're gonna switch. Taking that forward step, stretching the hip flexor, hands on temples, and tucking the tailbone in, and deep breaths. Good, so that's a good stretch for your hip flexors. We're gonna stand up and we're gonna do a quad stretch. So with this one, you wanna grab your ankle. So it's always good, I'm a firm believer with balance. It's always good to end the session with a little bit of balance. Try and keep your eyes on something static. I keep my eyes on 1 blade of grass. That will give me focus. And I also want to stretch the thigh now. I'm still stretching the hip flexor, but more targeted on the thigh, on the quad. So if you're off balance, you can also clench your opposite fist, and that will get you into a nice sturdy position. So grabbing my ankle, trying to have my heel kick my glute, and letting my leg drop. Again, switching sides. 4 deep breaths total. 2, 3, 4. And then we want to keep a little bit more of an awareness on the hamstrings, so we're going to hinge at the hips, and we're just going to let our hands drop in front of us. So if you have the mobility, you can hinge at your hips, keep your arms straight, the back is flat, you're not curling your spine down to try and touch your toes. If you have that mobility to keep your back flat and touch your toes, then that is what you want. You don't want to over round the back, right? You want to keep everything flat. So this is getting more your hamstrings and your calves. So trying to get a flat back, stretching the hamstrings. Good, so we got a dynamic warm-up. We did some solid 5 movements that will help maintain and gain your muscle mass. And then we did a static stretch at the end. Thank you for watching and have a great day.